a control deck. And on the right, we have Jake Valentine playing Flash. Can we get Curtis to move his deck box from our camera view? There you go. Nice. Very cool. So is this blue-black deck? I don't remember a blue-black, strictly blue-black deck from the Pro Tour.
There wasn't one.
There was like a base blue-red deck that splashed black for Painful Truths, I believe.
Amongst other things.
Yeah.
Harness Lightning, etc., etc.
Well,
It
no,
was
it
very
splashed
solidly
black.
Grixis.
Oh, was it? Okay. I remember
Oh, it
Painful
splashed
Truths.
black.
I remember Painful Truths and Transgress the Mind in Shota's deck.
Sure.
And we're off. Curtis is keeping.
Deck runs 24 lands.
And Jake's kept a hand with one of them.
On the draw, sure.
Really?
He's got two.
Alright, there we go. Let's see if he picks the right clue. Ooh. Oh, that's
Wrong
just,
clue. He looked for it, too. That's the sad thing. Like, if you
yeah,
just
that's what I'm
snap it
saying.
off.
Yeah, like if it was just the top clue of the stack, I wouldn't care. So as far as this blue-white flash deck is concerned, this is a strong start.
Yeah, the Thraben Inspector is a major part of this game plan here.
Right. What tools, what lines does this open up?
So he could have, like, a turn 2 Smuggler's Copter. Any turn 2 drop here is good.
Okay.
If he puts him on Grixis, he might be trying to play around Radiant Flames.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine.
Which makes the Selfless Spirit or the Smuggler's Copter very good, right?
Right. Yeah, the deck isn't very susceptible to a lot of the aggro hate, so some of the aggro starts are pretty good.
Notice the negate coming to the top of his hand many times. That's got to be huge here against when you're staring down 3 blue-black lands. I mean, you can only expect a control deck at this point.
Absolutely. So there's a lot in Jake's deck that can play at instant speed once you get to 3 mana.
Mm-hmm.
So you got Spell Quellers, Negates, Avacons further down the line.
Yeah, so this just has to be where you hang out. We got here. There's been a murder. Yeah, he's going to let that one go.
So one of the big things that you can do, I would have liked negating that, just because if he untaps and kills your guy, then you get a free Gideon, and Gideon is a major piece of this matchup. Like, if you can resolve a Gideon, it's just pretty much game.
Okay. See, I would not have seen that line. Here we
Resolves
go.
anyway.
All right.
Feels good, man. I mean, he's playing blue-black. He could very easily just have the Ruin his path.
Yeah, you don't want to burn. You don't want to burn a counter spell on something you're gonna take care of. I guess he gets the advantage of the 2/2, but it doesn't speed up the clock by a whole lot.
I mean, it speeds it up from 15 turns to 5 turns here, so triples the clock. But we've got a Metallurgic Summoning. Here's a good one.
Well, this is the enchantment.
It's a spicy one. So whenever he casts an instant or sorcery, he gets an XX.
Okay, where X is instants and sorceries in the bin.
I think it's converted mana cost of the spell he's casting. Yeah, you need to really attack through.
Alright, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you get an XX, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. Alright. And then you can sack it for 5 to return all of those casts to your hand.
Only if you control 6 or more artifacts. So that's not relevant, really.
Double Metalcraft.
What's relevant is every one of his instants and sorceries is now also a creature.
With comes into play, cast a instant or sorcery.
Right.
So Jake represents Avacyn here with five lands untapped, passing the turn. Yep. Did Curtis King turn the corner here with this metallurgic summoning?
Any removal spell, and Curtis he's not dead, but he's still in trouble.
Yeah, I think if he untaps here, I don't see.
So he doesn't have a blocker for flyers. He's at 7.
Mm-hmm.
There is a copter coming down now, I believe.
There's a copter.
So he can just make an army. He's got a Westvale Abbey out.
Mm-hmm. And so he gets to even if Curtis sweeps, he gets to continuously crew that copter.
Exactly. But he's also very close to just being able to activate Westvale Abbey and swing for 9. Like, he's got it next turn, unimpeded, if he wants to. Just 0 Gideon, crew the copter, go to town.
Go nuts. Yeah, it's interesting. Here we got a big 4-drop spell.
So the problem is, he really needs to find some kind of removal, and he needs to do it on his turn. But at the same time, that opens him up to a lot of different lines from Jake.
Right. I think what you want to do is you definitely want to kill the Gideon.
You have to kill the Gideon if you have a way to, but
yeah, if you got a Ruinous Path, it's pretty critical here.
If he had a Ruinous Path, he would have done it any number of previous turns. That's a good attack.
Yep. Alright. So I think he's probably got a boatload of instants in his hand, and he's trying to bait Jake into a non Westvale Abbey attack. Because Jake could still like have a Thraben Inspector, Gideon, get the Westvale Abbey online.
It looks like he's got Rattle Chains and Negate in hand. And with no flyers on the other side of the board, Copter plus Rattle Chains is a 2-turn clock right now.
Mm-hmm. Right, end of turn, we're going to see another token get made via this Glimpse of Genius. He gets to go 4 cards deep into his deck on this if he wants it. So there's the Ruinous Path.
That's what he wants.
And I didn't get a look at the second one.
Yellow energy is what he wants. Alright, so he can awaken this Ruinous Path, but if he does, he opens himself up big time to a negate.
Sure. But he generates 2 creatures a creature in the process. So he's just going to cast just the Ruinous Path.
Yeah, gotta think Jake's going to negate this one.
Trigger. Alright, trigger on the stack.
Trigger!
I always announce those, Well, this is very exciting. See, right now, here's what I would do. If I were Curtis, I would just get in. I would turn the Gearhulk and the 4-power artifact creature sideways, get in there, because you're gonna, at the very least, you get rid of 2 of those tokens.
I mean, he can just take it. Jake's still at 20. Like
Yeah, but
9
I mean,
damage.
you're gonna have to get him to 0 sometime.
There's the negate.
Oh, is this a confiscation coup?
Yeah.
There's the negate. Now I might get in with all of my guys.
No, it's game.
Is it the game?
Yeah, so you can crew the copter, sacrifice 5 guys, make an Ormondal, and 9 you.
Interesting. Yeah, so what you saw here is how the standard format, I think, is really playing out with the way that removal is lined up.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, like, if Ruinous Pass were an instant, it would be a totally different ball game.
Oh yeah, that card would be insane as an instant.
And in that situation, like, if you're playing against these vehicles, you have to have some sort of instant speed. You know, Murder is Curtis's card of choice, but it's just not very efficient. Doesn't have casting cost is tough to deal with 2 black.
Absolutely. Essence Extraction is a pretty good option against most of the vehicles. It's a little heavy on the black, but so is Murder. Murder's just a better catch-all.
Right. And I think the critical card we're going to see here from Curtis is the Ceremonious Rejection. Do you bring that in against this blue-white flash deck? Is it worthwhile?
No, I mean, it only counters the copter.
Sure.
Unless you put someone also having, like, Void Shatter or something like that, but I don't think that's relevant. I mean, you want some number of negates, especially on the play, so you can just negate a copter on turn 2 on the play.
Mm-hmm.
On the draw, I probably don't want anything to do with negates.
Well, I can see Negate being a pretty strong card. Like, you still have Gideon to counterspell.
Oh, absolutely. Like, it's very good, but it depends on how the rest of his counter suite and removal suite is set up. Like, you want more generic answers than just negate.
Mm-hmm.
And the blue-white flash deck is mostly creatures.
Right. Jake has to be pleased to see this matchup, as I feel like any deck that has a lot of can play on the stack very well, in that his creatures have flash and he has negates to back them up.
Absolutely.
It just has to be highly favored against the control deck, especially with one that's not playing a color that gives him access to a lot of sweepers. There's no white for Fumigate or red for Radiant Flames.
Yeah, the loss of Languish really hurts this blue-black control strategy. Be interesting to see how Jake sideboards here. Because I literally, like, right before the tournament, just handed him my deck. So, should be a good one. There's a Dispel, 2 more negates in the sideboard, so you can go up to a full set of negates, and that's probably going to be a good option. Rattle Chains should probably come out. It's not amazing here. Like, they have some removal, but most of their removal isn't going to be targeted at, like, your spirits anyway.
Sure.
So, I mean, that's definitely the weak card there. Reflector Mage is not very good.
Probably not very premium against, returning a token. You can't cast a token, doesn't really matter, right?
Sure. Reflector Mage is also another bad one. They can come out in this matchup.
Yeah, that's what we just said.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was watching him trying to figure out what he's sideboarding out. I think he's just going to shave a bunch of stuff and bring in, like, random counter spells. So it should be interesting.
Yeah. Jake really, he does need to learn how to shave. So.
He does have a pretty fierce neck beard going.
Yeah. A little bit of facial hair management would go a long way.
Their sleeves are the store colors. We set that up on purpose, just for you.
Oh, how funny is that?
It's pretty funny.
Thanks, Boo. No problem, said. My buddy John's here, always looking out for our loyal followers.
So, what do you think the blue-black control deck can bring in? Obviously, there are things that it has that don't match up very well here.
I don't know what I mean. Transgress the Mind has to be bad.
It's not great.
I know. I'm trying to think of cards that I would want to play, and um, just not a ton of them.
Yeah. So being able to go
I
over the
saw.
top is a big deal.
Yeah. So do you think Noxious Gearhulk has a place here?
Noxious Gear Hulk isn't bad.
I
So
mean, it
when
eats a guy, gains you some life.
right,
Um,
so the blue white's bad matchups are like the big Delirium deck. So playing like Ishkanaz and Emrakul's. If you play against
so do we
like
want something along the lines of a Kalitas?
Kalitas, might be pretty good. It'd help you race.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Like one activation on a Kalitas, just it gets so big,
oh yeah.
so fast.
So we'll see what they end up bringing in here.
Flaying Tendrils has been suggested.
Oh,
Last-
Jake has opted to bring in the Singleton Summary Dismissal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm not crazy about that one. That's in there just as like a catch-all for the Marvel decks, which you're already pretty good against.
Sure.
But their late game plan is to play Emrakul's.
Okay.
So having it out there is pretty good. So I really got to get some action in with the Thraben Inspectors last weekend.
Yeah.
There were so many games where I was like, turn 1, Thraben Inspector, turn 2, Thraben Inspector, turn 2, second Thraben Inspector. Like,
Sure.
unreal amount of Thraben Inspectors.
Just
And it doesn't look like much because they're a bunch of stupid squires. But like that 3 power, it forces them into a situation where they need to Radiant Flames. And I don't know how much you like Spell Queller, but Spell Queller on a Radiant Flames is just the biggest blowout.
it's a huge deal.
Yeah. Also, even if you don't have the Spell Queller, if you're on the play, you pass, they Radiant Flames your 3 guys away, you
Yep.
get a free Gideon.
So here's a Spell Queller on a Grasp of Darkness. Now this is much less of a big deal, because if he gets to kill the Spell Queller, he's gonna get. You know what I mean? It's like it's a 2-for-1 at this point.
Absolutely, but saving that Copter for even 1 activation is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, having the card is great. I mean, I'm proud of Jake. Here is a Niblis of the Mist.
Frost.
Of the Frost. I'm sorry.
This is a good one, too.
Yes, so this is going to do a lot of blocking and a lot of tapping of Jake's attackers.
Jake left the Reflector Mage in, and that's going to be a pretty big play here.
even the blind squirrel finds a nut, huh? Alright, I guess this summary dismissal is going to hit the bin, if we're lucky.
At this point, it's not bad. So Rattle Chains can probably be discarded.
Yes, Nimbus of Frost. It gets big, and it lets you tap things. So this card is it can just dominate the whole board during combat steps.
So playing it into or with your 4 mana is good. Untapping with it is huge.
Right. I don't think he had much choice on like waiting till 6 to like back it up with a negate or
absolutely not,
something.
yeah.
Like you got to get it down here against this blue-black deck. And Jake literally had one of the few cards that helps him here.
So
Alright.
that's not a bad exchange for Jake. You still have the Copter, and having an active Copter in this matchup is huge.
Yeah. It keeps the gas flowing.
Yep. It makes you like the 5th land is important,
Uh-huh.
but every other land is not.
Jake's counting. We're going to figure out this 5th land situation, and Rattle Chain is going to hit the bin, I think. Nope. Selfless Spirit.
Selfless Spirit's a fine discard here. I might have discarded the land with my hand being, two drops and a 3-drop. But
I think his goal is to have the Spell Queller
and
backed
the
up by the
negate.
Rattle Chains.
Oh, backed up by the rattle chains. Very nice, yeah.
Because then if he goes after the Spell Queller, the Rattle Chains gets it protected.
Sure. And the Spell Queller most notably counters this Nibbles of Frost that's going to come down this turn.
Sure.
And then he has double backup for it with Rattle Chains and the negate.
But the Spell Queller comes down and counters this. It's
Yeah, so this is 5 damage. Can make it 6 if he really wants to.
yeah, it's pretty irrelevant at this point.
Yeah, so 5 damage coming through, trigger. Gotta imagine that island's going away. Yeah, Reflector Mage is fine. Not 72.
So it didn't gain 65 life.
So 6 lands is not
Not
great.
a big deal.
Yeah. There are matchups where you bring in your Singleton Linvala, and that's fine. Like, you want to hit the 6 land, obviously, to cast your spell, but
Sure.
Curve tops out at 5. Very rarely want to back up Avacyn. He's going to let it resolve. How generous.
He's gonna Rattle Chains this, hopefully.
Yeah, Rattle Chains is strong here.
No, you don't want to burn the. Oh, you don't want to burn the negate.
Oh, yeah. He murdered the Spell Queller. And there you
Yep.
have it.
And that's the show. Gosh, this blue-white flash deck is just strong.
Yeah, it's got all kinds of answers. It can attack you from a lot of different angles.
And as soon as turn 3, you're playing multiple spells a turn
Oh, yeah.
that have big effects on the board.
And all of your guys look like they're small, like 1/2s and 2/1s.
Yeah, you
But
get
it
enough
can
of
turn
those,
the
it
corner
doesn't add
very
up.
quickly.
It
Yeah,
adds up, man.
absolutely.
I mean, three damage from a copter every turn
Oh, yeah.
get you to 0 pretty quick.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, so we'll